In the name of God, the most benevolent, most merciful. So, the title of an episode for today, for this episode, is wondering about the contexts and the contents of hidden worlds. Or wondering about the context to the contexts of a hidden world. Excuse me, wondering about the context to the content in a hidden world. Or in hidden worlds. Pretty much it's a fascination. What I've figured out that may be of value to more human beings than my own is actually how they experience, how my experiences have come to me, and how I have looked at the world so far, and how there requires to be a retaliation or a strategy, a response back to what the world has provided, you know? It's like the world has made the first chess move. It has brought us into existence, into manifestation. The system admin has commanded it, but through the world it took place. To me, it feels like, strangely, like a chess game between the visible and invisible, and unimaginable and the imaginable. The unimaginable was the first chess move. Then the imaginable was the second chess move. Now the third chess move seems to be unimaginable, and more than we're just in one sort of format of a world, we're in this world where the unimaginable and the imaginable are taking place. They're taking turns. Reality is very fascinating because of the mere notion of what is a world, and is someone's world an actuality, or is it a potential? How much of reality is projected, and how much of reality is there prior to projection? So in anything, there is a context to content relationship. Anything there is to understand. There tends to be a conceptual, an exoteric dimension, and then a contextual, because the depth of the concept is where the concept has been found. The depth to the human being is the depth of the world situation. So it's like we're wondering about the context to something. So we look at, like, let's say we have the concept of a letter, and its context includes one layer of its context as it's part of the alphabet. The alphabet is part of language. Language is part of reality. What tends to happen is that you have kept reality conceptually separate in one state of being. But as you look at the context to reality, you actually function as a different kind of being. It's like the concept is the human being, the context is where is it? We say the context to the entity, the being, is the world. And what's fascinating is there's this pattern of things being projected, simulated from an original state, then all simulations will return to that original state. And in some sense, we human beings acknowledge the idea of death, but we acknowledge it physically. What is the non-physical implication of shifting beyond the world you've known so far? It's all about wondering, what are we looking at and why are we here? So let's start from this angle. How do we define a hidden world? What is a hidden world? A hidden world is a world that is in some sense a world that we don't have access to, but we know it's there. It's an inaccessible existence. Now, how many hidden worlds are there where we obviously notice that the human perception, the electromagnetic spectrum, we access a partial amount of reality. What we see as our world is the dynamism of our mind. What we treat as a noun, it's like a complex verb is treating itself as a noun. Realities are very strange. They are, yes, divided by time, divided by space, but they also have different speeds to them. That means if they sped up reality, you would access hidden worlds. If reality was slowed down, you would access hidden worlds. Why? Because the unhidden world is a certain state of being. You know, back in the day, they don't mention this, but a lot of scholars freaked out when they had dreams. Like sincere people curious about what's going on. Why did they freak out? Because it didn't explain how they had access to simple reality in their conscious waking state, and they would have dreams of like realities that are so different than what they consciously know. They would wake up being shocked. There's even famous stories like this dude named Changzu or something. Chuangzi. This dude dreamt he was a butterfly. He woke up and like his disciples or something, they went up to him and they're like, why the long face? And he's like, guys, I dreamt I was a butterfly last night and it was so real. I don't know if I'm the butterfly dreaming me or I'm me dreaming the butterfly. That means there was a fascination. Reality is not like, it's not all known. We act like we know it. So we have common ground. All of reality seems to be the coordination of behavior and language. What physical movements are defining the known world? What non-physical moments are defining, you know? So we start from this position that the concept of life is our current human life. We wonder about its context, and we realize that he is limited to the context. So believe it or not, human beings are not just reacting to a physical world. They are reacting to how they have given this physical world non-physical meaning. It's the depths of awareness through core experience. There is nobody that could come and say, yo man, this is how I see life and this is how it is. It's always something is being pointed to something of a greater context. It's like thinking of the context of, imagine you were a commanding officer or you were put into some leadership position. You had to manage one person. Then you had to manage two people. Then you had to manage 10 people. Then 100 people. Then 1,000 people. Think of like generals back in the day in medieval times. It was all, and what it is, what management seems to be, is just trying to either build or find enough commonality for function. The world has a different depth for every single person that is alive. Based on that depth, their behavior emerges. That means behavior is more a sign of what sort of world is that soul seeing and interacting with. Where do we draw the lines of the known and the unknown in our reality? We even have the concept of knowledge, but the context of knowledge is the unknown. What really, it's kind of beautiful, but what really the humanity is, what mankind is, it's the massive effort of surviving through self-created meaning. We're in the presence of a system that prefers continuity, and all ideological systems are simply that. It's about the continuity of what we are. It is the journey of being into what else it can be or what it is. What mankind is a sort of search for meaning, but on a global, massive scale. Pretty much beings are born in this world and they're told either like you choose the program, like this past program, or you choose a new program. You either accept the story of the world or you wonder if the story is even finished. It's like wondering about the accuracy of history, wondering about how much of reality actually happened, wondering about how much did honesty write the story and how much did dishonesty. What are the forces at work here? That we have self, like a majority of life is about maintaining the self, but the rest of it is like wondering about what is the meaning behind the maintaining of the self. What is the true meaning of maintaining being? So it's a question of the depth of being, and anytime you wonder about the depth of something, you're wondering about its known context beyond its known contextual boundaries. You see, it's pretty much like a puzzle, or it's like a game, and at some point I think every human being plays this game. And what this game is wondering about the self and the world and their relationship. Are you being a part of the world or are you in the world? Are you somewhere that is defining you, or are you not defined by where you are? Because the wisdom seems to be an attempt to not get defined by the transient. It's fascinating to me that there's 8 billion beings, like human beings here. 8 billion ways the world has been projected, and in some sense there's interaction with. When we talk, let's say when we wonder about the idea of human intelligence, it's pretty much wondering about how intelligent human beings have been. Now, if human beings want to be more intelligent than they are, the context has to expand. To access a hidden world is the expansion of the context of meaning. The context is expanding. The forms and shapes are changing. The inferior question is wondering about what happens to human intelligence. The superior question is wondering about what happens to intelligence. Like if somebody says, what is your view on the future of human intelligence? I'm like, there's epistemic entropy to worry about, disorder and systems of knowledge that cannot be fixed and lead to like the collapse of the whole system. And the thing is, management is natural. Just like how nature manages through the apex predator and the, prey. There is, one must consider, at least the way I consider reality is like this. It's all about servers of access. I have access right now to the human server. There is a natural server. Pretty much this system is functioning through commands. We are not, like some people want to say, a programmed world. I would say we are inside a commanded world. A command doesn't need justification for its occurrence. That means the explanation of how existence happened, it will inevitably come to a spontaneous answer. For me, there is right now, let's say, natural laws. Nature is like the context to the human being. But I consider a deeper context of divine command. Now, some people are going to be like, what do you mean divine command? I mean it in the sense of like a human being looking at this world, realizing it's an existential simulated system, noticing they are also simulated in this existential system, wondering about this, if this existential system has a system admin, and coming to the realization it doesn't have an existential system admin, it has an unfathomable system admin. That means the greatest value archetype of man is an absolute archetype. It means a humanized relationship with the absolute. One cannot be found as the leader. You're being led in higher dimensions. Here you can individualize to lead. Because underneath physics, it's how that geometry of that physics was commanded into position. When I was younger, I feared the notion of being commanded. Little did I realize everything has been commanding me. Culture has been commanding me to behave in a certain way. Everything the people around me have said has commanded me to act in a certain way. The questions I've gone after to answer that have could change the context of my reality, it's like the command is based on what you find, based on what you want. But because it's so big and massive, you don't know what you want. So you wonder at least, okay, what can I be or behave? You see, when it comes to this reality, there is a system admin. I'm that person being like, yo, there is. And what does it mean that reality has a system admin? It means there is a meaning beyond simulated meaning. That means man cannot know because man is not in that higher room. So then the question comes, okay, what do we do? Now, if you look at human beings on earth, I consider myself a religious person. Why? Because the system admin is present. I am not just speaking in front of you, I am speaking in front of the original power that is moving, administering the simulation. So life is not just about, like, if they say, is there something more important than life and death? I'll be like, yeah. And it's trying to, as a simulated being, establish a direct link with the original power of reality. The original power of reality is a power that the ego can never understand. Even if it understands it, it will come to the conclusion of when you realize whose room you're in. Your whole life, your persona is based on you feeling you're in your own room. Do you know what I mean when I say your own room? Your own room of meaning. You are convinced by yourself to be a self throughout the day. But what is that self? What is the grand mystery of this world? How far and deep does the mystery of what intelligence actually is goes? And what are we going to do with the future that is coming when the past couldn't figure it out? It is very obvious human beings soon will have to decide. Do they want to loop or do they not? Do you know, it's like having the fear. I had a dream once, I'll share this. Sorry guys, had to check something on the phone. I'm trying to tell you, it's like this sudden shock, okay? Just like the weather has changed, you step out of the comfort of the past you've known, you look at an unknown world, you realize there's an intelligence beyond you administering the system, yet you are here having the privilege of administering yourself consciously. And it's all an analysis of what variables are there accessible, you know? They ask someone who was silly and playful, why are you silly and playful in such a serious world? And the person, in some sense, responded and said, how serious can the unknown be? Every decision we calculate, 100% there is unknown variables. We don't have advanced super AI assistants hovering around us to be commanded, do you know? Mankind is making decisions all the time, yet these decisions are being made in accordance to what known variables are there. It's like a spectrum of known and unknown variables in every moment you look at. You wonder about the known variables, you wonder about the choices you have from these known variables, and then you wonder about the consequences of the choices from the known variables, and eventually you in some sense choose. But what I'm trying to tell you is that this reality that we're considering an unhidden normal world we're all in, its edges are very unknown, and it does have hidden dimensions, and it also has dimensions that are inaccessible from here. This pretty much puts an end on the search of spirituality. That spirituality is not somewhere you gotta go. Spirituality is, what is your role now? Why have you appeared in the geometry of your current existence? Why are you aware of the specific set of forms you have access to? Because I'm telling you, the quickest way to find the hidden world is to realize that you have self-simulated the meaning of your world. Do you know what that means? The forms are free for all. Like, two people can look at an artwork, and one of them looks at it and it's like, what is this trash? Another person is saying, yo man, this is like a treasure, right? So why is that? It means this whole time you have been putting the meaning in what you see, in the forms that you see. We look at that object and say it's a tree. We look at that object and say it's a car. We look at the clouds in the sky and call them clouds. We look at this stuff and we give it meaning. We act as if the meaning is real. We are as this projected self. Then at some point we see the limitations of our meaning and we update in accordance to the world's movements, not just ours. That means right now in 2025, I am witnessing the most divided and conquered humanity I have ever seen. So easily divided by language and culture. So easily divided by not having the patience to wonder about what hidden greatness there is here. The concept is a self. The context is, how am I being a self? Am I being a self because I'm separating myself from everything? Am I being a self because I'm identifying with how my body is being separate from everything? But what about my mind that acts as this sphere of awareness that holds all that I'm considering to be real? You see, it's coming down to the question that, is the truth a verb or a noun? And because it's unfathomable, it's a verb. It's beyond the specification of a noun's sphere of knowing. We are in the presence of an event. And the event is in the presence of the originator of it. People say religious, look at that religious person. I'm like, look at that person that has looked at the world and he's like, nah, it ain't empty, and is trying to contact the ultimate ideal. Like, isn't it interesting that God is unimaginable, unfathomable by man, but the names of God are all the greatest archetypes of man? God is the unspeakable top of the hierarchy greatness of everything. It's the system admin to establish a relationship with like a living system, not a person. They're like, yo man, how do I talk to that beautiful girl? No. How do you communicate with a living world that you are in for some time? And how are your values set? Are your values set based on what you want or what you are? There will come a day where I think human beings just, it happens. You get tired of your own meaning. You stare at the unknown as if you found a liminal moment. And a liminal moment is like a never before entered moment. What simulated beings can do is wonder about the original truth. This is the most ancient behavior. We wonder about truth. Once we realize we're limited, we pass it on. We're like, yo, I saw this far, maybe others can see further. All right, I gotta head out, see ya. You know? And history goes forth fearlessly as if it is just a display of force. Human beings are just looping in comfortable behaviors. Our species has, in my opinion, has not activated truly. Everybody is moving around in their own self-simulated meaning. And do you know, to have the patience to understand a being that is different than your own, and to wonder about how every person has a different value theory. That means everybody has a theory on how everything is valued. Hurrah. It's like, nice. We're not just all in the same world. Every person's in their own simulated meaning to the world. And to be honest, like they say, love is like very important. What love is the attention being on the same parts of reality. We thought we're living in an exclamation point. We're living in a giant question mark. And everybody is Oscar level actor. Everybody, before they even know they're acting, they're the Oscar level actors. All of reality, folks, is based on a language, on a method of symbolism we created over it. We pretty much told our own story on something that we can't know the whole story. And manageable truth seems to be enough for people. Not even like true truth, you know? Wonder about the context and concept of reality. Once you notice your limits, beyond those limits are all the hidden worlds you want. But it's not about what your ego wants, it's about where is the presence of the whole effort going. It's like wondering about if you worked hard your whole life, what would that look like? Then wondering about if 8 billion human beings worked hard towards building the most advanced civilization and then resting out, how incredible it would be. It's a confused reality based on like reaction to wild games. Like legit, it's a sign of epistemic entropy right now. The biggest challenge the future generations have is not to forget what was natural. If they forget what was natural, it'd be like, really, man? Really, species? You forgot what was nature? I think there is a fascination for hidden worlds, but you should get more fascinated by how you've been simulated here for some time. And what is the greatest thing a simulated being can do, or any being anywhere can do, is to wonder about power sources. You wonder about the source of power. And what power for now, for the human being is left to the randomity of the climate of decisions. The human destiny and the destiny of nature and the destiny of all that moves reality. Why we're here, why do we know that we're here, and then why do we deeply not know why we're here? What sort of clarity resides behind the eyes that have seen so far, or beyond the eyes that have seen so far? I'm not trying to get you to be fascinated by a hidden world. I'm trying to make you as a human being ask yourself, okay, there's 8 billion human beings here. What's the best thing they can do? They got to connect to the power source of the original system admin as a simulated being. So as a simulated being, you got to wonder about the original source of reality. It's kind of like you're an effect of something you don't understand. So the effect has to remember its cause. What I feel the soul is and why it's hidden, because it's the original command. I feel all our souls have been commanded here. It is not per se you want to be here or you deserve to be here. It's that it is the command, and manifestation serves its original command. You see, you're not just human beings. You're beings that have a connection or a memory of some sorts to the original state of being. For example, in Islam, it is said that man is, I think, Khalifa, he's an ambassador of the divine attributes. That means there's a question, why did God need to create man? God didn't need to create man, but by creating man, he created a position in being that needs the system admin. We need to be conscious of the system admin because the system admin is already conscious of the whole system. The system admin is not a form. If you define it to a form, then you've gone really old school. The era of magic or being powerful like a superhero, that era ended when divinity came into the room. Magic became obsolete because divinity was so superior, because divinity had to do with a command from the original creator of reality. Do you understand? It is not a joke. It is so important that it's like there was contact. People look at religion and they're like, yo man, this isn't sci-fi like aliens. I'm like, aliens, bro? Who gives excuse my language, like who GAF like gives AF, about aliens when the original system admin of this existential system has created a pathway, a connection point. It's so far superior than meditation, spirituality, like talking to beings or, channeling and all that. That stuff is just like honestly, it's dress up. Without the realization that man is here to notice the system admin of the world room he's a guest in. You didn't make this world, you're a guest here, And as a guest here, what is the value of you being here? That's the phenomenal part. It's as if more than we're in somewhere we can measure and define, we are somewhere where the edges are edgeless. That's when you see that what a hidden world means is way more significant than one landscape being compared to another. It is the true context to the forces that are being here, being all of us. So wonder deeply, because at some point you will snap out of how you have been giving everything meaning, and you will wonder, what does it mean before I saw it or before I gave it meaning? Could it be that this whole time there has been so many hidden angles to every moment that we have acted like we've seen it all? They're like, what's a symptom of realizing the higher realities? I'll be like, it's a laughter of shame. It's like you're laughing at like, oh my God, I didn't know better. I hadn't understood the context of reality when I was younger, and I was stumbling as a foolish concept. But then you realize the might of the unknown and how the whole point of being here is to notice that original power, and at some point, I guess you activate what we are. And then it's going to lead to the activation of the species. And then a species being conscious of the system admin means that we're all living under the ultimate value. Because every person, their values are managing them. what you value is like interfering with your selfhood. Anyways, guys, I want to end it here. Thank you for listening. And in the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the presence of the original is beyond the simulated imaginings.